Hello and welcome to the channel, and welcome to what is the second episode of my tone chasing series, where we aim to recreate famous tones from guitarists but on a more reasonable budget. Today we're attempting to sound like the guitarist of Pink Floyd and one of my guitar heroes, David Gilmour. Starting off with the guitar, and it's the obvious choice really. This is a Mexican-made Fender Standard Strat. For those of you familiar with the Fender catalogue, you'll know that these were discontinued quite a few years ago, so for the sake of this video and the budget, I will include the Player 2, which is the current equivalent of this guitar. One thing I will say while we're on the topic of the guitar, is I found myself rolling the tone off for quite a few of these clips. For parts such as the intro to Shine On You Crazy Diamond, I found that with the tone all the way up, it comes across quite harsh, whereas if you roll it off to about halfway, you get a much more gentle sound that's closer to what's on the recording. There's not much more to say other than that, it's a standard Strat. So, moving on to pedals. I'm using 3 pedals for this rig, those being the Dynacomp by MXR, the EHX Big Muff Russian reissue, and the MXR Phase 90. I'll throw up on screen some photos of the pedals so you can see roughly what settings I'm using. Now, moving on to the amp. David Gilmour is obviously quite famous for using high watt amps with lots of high headroom and very high wattages, but those amps, either vintage or the new ones that they're now making, are rather expensive, so my budget alternative to that is the Vox AC15. The Vox that I'm using and that you'll be hearing in the clips is loaded with a greenback speaker. The amp has a built-in spring reverb which I'm using. Didn't use it in any of the clips, but the amp also has a built-in tremolo, which if you're doing tracks like Money, might come in useful. So that's a quick run through of the gear I've used to try and get close to David Gilmour's sound. Let's see how it sounds.